Today I get to work on a pretty cool project. 2017 Chevy SS has about 10,000 miles, and today I'm going to be installing a camshaft. And I'm just going to real quick give you all kind of some information on the customer and what's going in the car. He's an older gentleman. He's not really into racing. He basically just wanted a cam for the sound. That's pretty much what he said. He just wants it to sound good, you know, be reliable, be able to drive it, this and that. The cam, I'm going to put it in the form. It's a low lift, kind of high duration cam. So what's cool about this is you can actually reuse the stock ls3 valve springs, because the lift is actually 553 on the intake, 547 exhaust. Let's see here, 224 intake duration, 230 exhaust duration. So yeah, it's a low lift, healthy duration with the 111 LSA. So it's definitely gonna sound the way he wants it to sound. And yeah, being able to reuse the factory valve springs is going to save a lot of trouble. It's going to be more reliable, because people don't realize that once you start swapping out valve springs, they don't last forever. I mean, it's recommended to change them out something like 10-15,000 miles. You actually have to go in and swap them out. You know, they don't last very long. Considering this car has 10,000 miles, yeah, sticking with the stock ls3 valve springs, it's going to be good pretty much for the life of the car. I'm not going to get too much more into it. I'm just going to do a quick kind of idle, maybe a rev before, dive down into it, start tearing it apart, and I'll have an after clip of what it sounds like. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so on this one, I think what I'm going to do is actually start with the hardest part of the job first, and that is going to be getting down to the camshaft. So on this car, that probably involves removing the radiator and the fan assembly. The condenser, I hope I can leave it in the car and maybe move it out of the way. You know, of course, the airbox and all that. And then from there, I'll go to the top and attack the valve train to get the push rods out of there. Alright guys, let me just update y'all real quick on what I've done. I got the airbox out, got the fan unplugged. There's like a fan module on this side. Unplug that, and it's got the wiring going to both fans. You can just leave that alone. Just get that main plug. Got the condenser unbolted from the radiator. That was kind of a pain in the ass. It has 4 10mm bolts coming from the front, back, going this way. Like one here, here, and then on the bottom. Same spots, but on the bottom. And for the bottom ones, I actually had to go down, and I was able to get them through the grill, surprisingly. But now I'm going to attempt to pull the radiator and the fan all out together, and hopefully that gives me the room I need to pull the cam out. That's if I can move the condenser, because I really don't want to undo the AC lines. That's going to open up a whole other can of worms that I don't really want to get into right now. Okay, so that was a little bit harder than it should have been, probably because I did it with the bumper on the car, and really, it looks like you're supposed to take the bumper off to actually be able to do this. But I managed, I was still able to do it, and this is for you guys that like details. I'm going to go and tell you everything. You got to disconnect for this thing to come out. So it has two transmission lines. This kind of sat on the passenger side, on the left side of the motor. There's two fittings, two translines fittings. Undid both of those, and then the one on the left side actually ran to the cooler, around and to the front. It actually has like an auxiliary cooler up front, upper radiator hose, of course, and it had like this hose coming off the bottom of it that teed off. Make sure you get that off. Lower hose, of course, and yeah, the main plug for the fans is here. You don't have to worry about actually unplugging the individual fans. But yeah, once you have all these things done, it'll come out. Okay, this is what the bay looks like now. It's looking pretty promising that I'll be able to get the cam out with the radiator out and the condenser still in the car. And it does move around a lot. I might be able to, if it is in the way, I might be able to actually move it out of the way. But I guess I won't really know until the time comes to actually get the cam out of there. So for now, I'm going to work on getting down to the cam. Gonna get the belts off, get the water pump off, get the crank pulley off, and from there it's timing cover time. So alright, let's get to it. Okay, so before I actually pull the water pump off, I'm actually going to undo the heater hoses from the side of the thermostat housing over here. Usually, back in trucks and stuff, what I've done in the past is you can actually set the water pump aside. But it's just two hoses. I'm going to undo it and just get the water pump completely out of here, just to free up some room. And the coolant never stops coming. It's actually good to get as much coolant as out as possible, because when the water pump's off and the timing cover's off, you don't want the coolant to actually get inside of the engine to mix with the oil. That would be bad news. Dinner time. Alright, about to make a mess again. Coolant never stops coming. There we go. Now I'm actually going to let that, no, you know what, I could go ahead and pull the crank pulley off and just let that drain, because coolant will keep coming out of those water pump ports for a long time. Okay, so now it's time to actually crack loose the crank pulley bolt, and your best bet is using a pretty high powered impact. I'm using a Milwaukee M18 half-inch drive with a 15/16 or a 24mm socket. Doing this by hand will be a pain in the ass. Easy as that. So now what I'm going to do is work on setting up the crankshaft pulley puller. Got my long rod, especially for the LS's, and this can take, it can be done in one shot, or it can take like 20 shots. It just kind of depends on how the day is going to go, I guess. Let's see if I'm lucky today. The problem is lining up all three of the arms to grab at the exact same time. Because if they're not perfectly even, once one slides off, it's game over. You gotta start over again, or just back it out a little bit and try to get them all to grab at the same time. Now they all should be grabbing now. Huh. And I just realized I don't have my ratchet with me. Okay, what I'm going to do is use a smaller impact, one that isn't as strong as this full-size M18 here. I'm going to use the compact version. And I'm just going to, yeah, I don't advise this. It's best to do this by hand. But I literally just realized I don't have my half-inch ratchet with me. So, I'm just going to go slowly. Try and get this pulley off of here. Slow and steady. Now I'm not giving it the full torque. I'm purposely going slow and steady. I don't want to strip the threads or bend the rod. Alright, well, I guess it's going to be a good day. I got that in one shot. So getting down to this point, down to the timing cover, this is probably the hardest part of the job. Wow, you can actually see the sweat dripping off of me. It's freaking hot. It's like 100 degrees. Humid. Pretty miserable actually. But yeah, so getting down to the timing cover is probably the hardest part. Getting the radiator, the fans, transmission lines, all that nonsense. It's just a lot of effort, a lot of fighting, awkward, heavy crap with a bunch of lines and hoses and crap going everywhere. But from this point forward, it's basically just turning bolts. It's pretty straightforward. I'm actually going to let this sit for a minute, let the coolant drain out of the ports, like I was telling y'all earlier. Got water pump ports here. I'm just going to let it drain because I want absolutely no coolant to be running down as I got the timing cover off. Alright guys, so right now I'm going to work on taking off all the bolts, basically taking off the timing cover. I'm going to take off all these 10mm bolts going all the way around, and I think like 3 of my neighbors decided to cut the grass at the same time. So I might just fast forward through this bit and just, yeah, just watch me work. There's always that one stubborn bolt. This one's actually hitting the back of the AC tensioner. So my socket is just getting stuck in there. I'm having to undo it by hand. I got that sucker out. I'm plugging the camshaft position sensor. Ooh, that was in a bad spot too. Stuff some paper towels in the coolant jackets here. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the cover. Come on. Let me have you. Damn tensioner again. Okay, so I've been kind of studying this to see what the best way to get the timing cover off is, because it's hitting the tensioner and it's hitting the alternator. So what I'm going to do is the alternator has 2 bolts, maybe 3 bolts holding the alternator. One here, here, and here, and they're easy to get to, easily accessible. They're you know, you see them right there. It's 1, 2, 3. Well, that's a pulley. But the tensioner, it looks like it shares the bracket that the AC compressor does. So the bolts actually go in from the side, and those are going to be pain in the ass to get to. I don't want to mess with that, so I think my best bet is to actually loosen the alternator and try to get it to like swivel. I just need like a 1/4 inch of room, so I'm going to take off probably 1, 2 bolts, leave the bottom, try to swivel the alternator, and hopefully that gives me what I need to pull the timing cover off. Alright, this little bastard is behind the alternator. There's like a bracket somewhere around here. Yeah, that's probably it right there. 50 millimeter on the back side. Got that popped out. And it looks like it moved. Oh yeah, that should do the trick right there. Please, please, please. Yes. Yes. Well, there it is, guys. I am down to the camshaft sprocket. I think it's a good stopping point to actually start on the top of the motor and start getting down to the push rods. You know, popping off the coils, the valve covers, the rocker arms, and getting out the push rods. So I'm actually going to start on that now, and then once I get that out, it is bump stick time. Alright, so I got the coil packs off. It's just a bunch of 10 millimeter studs and maybe a couple nuts. Valve cover is 8 millimeters. There's only 4 per valve cover. Take these off real quick. Let's get those out of the way. Go. It's like a brand new engine under there. Well, it is. I mean, 10,000 miles. Looks really clean under there. All right, gonna go ahead and pull out all the push rods. 16 of them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 and 8 more on the other side. Okay, so what I've been busy doing is actually getting that top dead center. Take out the spark plug so you don't fight the compression. Crank it over until the cam gear dot there is lined up to the crankshaft sprocket dot there. 12 o'clock on the crankshaft, 6 o'clock on the cam gear, and you're good to go. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and start taking off the actual sprocket. And the crank is already in time, so I just got to get the just worry about the cam gear being in time. And just to verify that the sprocket is actually in the right position, the dowel is always at 3 o'clock right here on the cam sprocket. That's what lines up the camshaft to the actual sprocket, is a little dowel right there. And it is at 3 o'clock, so we're good to go. A little bit of encouragement for the sprocket to come off. Come on. Come on, come on. Well, that sucker is on there. Come on. Ah, there it goes. Oh, why that was so hard. Alright. So now I'm going to work on getting off the camshaft retaining plate. It's held on by a bunch of T40 Torx bolts, and it is very, very important that you do not strip these Torx bolts here, because if you do, you're pretty much screwed. It's going to be a big pain in the ass to get them off. So I'm going to crack them loose by hand. Make sure that Torx socket's in there all the way, seated the way it's supposed to be. Crack them all loose, and then I'm going to go and hit it with my Milwaukee, just because these are pretty fine thread. Probably take a while to actually back them all the way out by hand, and they're cracked loose already. It wasn't too bad. They're not tight. It's just make sure you got the T40. Don't use anything else. And of course, do not drop these in the oil pan. That'd probably make for a very bad day, or actually probably a bad weekend. Right, got all those off. Now the plate should just come off pretty easily. Maybe a little bit of encouragement. There it goes. Crack loose. Plate. It's got like a built-in little seal behind the retaining plate. And now the cam is basically ready to come out. Alright, so I'm going to go into a little bit more detail as to how I actually keep the lifters up and in place. Typically what I do is I just get some of these wooden dowel rods. You can find them like at Ace Hardware or, you know, Home Depot, Lowe's, things like that. I think they're meant for furniture. I'm not sure, but I use these to actually keep the lifters up, because there's two holes to the left and to the right of the cam, like just galley holes, and if you stick these in there, they actually make contact with the lifter, kind of wedge the lifter in place and keep it from falling down. Okay, so I've had the rods soaking in oil for a while. I'm going to go ahead and stick them in and work on pulling the cam out and doing the switcheroo, getting the new cam in there. Both of them in there. Give the cam a spin and make sure I don't hear the lifters. Alright guys, that's that. Got the cam in there. I don't think I'm going to go over like the whole reassembly process. It's pretty much the same thing, just in reverse order. So, but basically I'm just going to reassemble it from here, fire it up, and get a sound clip. Well, I was able to get a whole lot done off camera. Kind of had to like shift gears and really, you know, get working, because I needed this done today. What time did I start? I think I started like at 10. And it is now, let me see what time it is, hold on. 3 o'clock, so it's been 5 hours, and it is currently 98 degrees outside, so I just need to get done and get inside and get something to eat. Alright guys, I got the coolant somewhat topped off. It's ready for this first startup. Let it run, get the air out of the coolant system, probably put some more coolant, more trans fluid. But let's see if this thing fires up. I'm excited. You know, I'm so confident, I bet it's gonna fire up instantly and sound awesome. Here we go. boys and girls. Might be a little bit of water on the belts. That squeak will go away. Damn, it sounds good. That just about wraps up this video. If you have any questions or concerns, comment below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Stay greasy.